Let's go.
But it's nice for kids.
Good evening. Today is April 14th, 2016. We're here at the Administration and Building. This is the Board of Education meeting. May I have a motion to enter executive session to discuss confidential matters pertaining to the employment, future employment of a particular person or persons, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. We're now in executive session. At this time, may I have a motion to return to regular session, please?
Moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Sorry. Opposed? Thank you. We're now back in session. Can everybody hear me? 'Cause I don't, this seems really low. And I talk softly.
Is your light on?
Yeah, it's on.
Use this one.
But it, all right. At this time, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. There are no additions or changes to the agenda, so may I have a motion to adopt the agenda as listed, please?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. That brings us down to Pride.
Okay. Oh,
Well, see, I got a cheat sheet, and I get to read one first.
oh, good. And then Garrett, and then I'll go.
No, this one is important. I'd like to announce that Dr. Greer Rychek has been selected by the Mid-Hudson School Study Council to receive the 2016 Educational Leadership Award. She was chosen from nominees. Well, just to continue, she was chosen from nominees spanning 7 counties for demonstrating outstanding school leadership at the district and community level. And she will be honored at an awards dinner on April 27th. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It was definitely a surprise, and I want to thank the people who nominated me. Thank you very much. Garrett.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And start off with 7 of our student government officers attended a leadership and character conference at West Point. So it's always nice to see that some of the student government officers are building on their already developed skills. And then several of our AP classes visited the Met down in New York City. So then those students were able to get out there and experience a lot of the culture. It doesn't quite cut it looking at Google Images. It's not quite the same. And Mr. President, it was a huge success. There was a lot of positive feedback from the community, and there's a lot of money raised for the senior class. And I think we have Mr. President sitting in our crowd right now looking like he wanted to be recognized. You can face the camera, so everyone wave. There you go. You can look at that one again later, that face. Now for sports, our softball and baseball teams are each 4-1 and undefeated in league play. And then our girls lacrosse team is showing a lot of skill in their opening varsity season. This is their first year at that, so congrats to them. The boys lacrosse team is 2-3, and both of those teams that they beat are teams they haven't beaten in the past, which shows solid improvement. And our track and field teams are each 4-0 as well. And then we had a great NHS dinner last night. I think it was very enjoyable, and I'm sure Dr. Rychek might want to add more onto that later. And as far as furthermore in Pride, I think our keynote portion of the Pride section is the top 20 being present here tonight, and they'll have their own section in a little bit.
Great. Yeah, so last night was the annual Rotary Honors Night, so pretty much all the students who were with us tonight were with us last night, so it's a treat for me to be here 2 nights in a row. And the keynote speaker was legislator Will Truitt, and it was an interesting event because Will graduated from high school here 3 years ago and was himself a National Honor Society student, and really, that was predominantly why he was invited, that here was somebody who was in our National Honor Society that within 3 years of graduating, regardless of your political views or affiliations, managed to get elected as not managed, he was elected as a legislator, and he's currently enrolled in Marist. And the feedback I heard was that as a keynote, he could definitely connect to the students because, of course, he's not that far removed. And it was pretty funny because last night was his 21st birthday, so in the middle of his keynote, so, he was sharing that he had the same birthday as Thomas Jefferson, which was last night, and so we interrupted him in his keynote to sing happy birthday to him. So it was a very enjoyable night, but the highlight of the night is really the students. So on Monday night, we were also at the Wallace Center for the documentary, the educational documentary, Most Likely to Succeed. And that is a movie that looks at the past history of our education, moving into what the future may hold for education. We had 100 tickets reserved, and about 50 people show up. It was raining very heavily, so we think that affected attendance, but the feedback from those in attendance were excellent, and we collected comment cards. They're being compiled now, and they ranged from very exciting, very thought-provoking, this is definitely the direction we should go in, and some concern about how we could get there. So great dialogue at the end, good questions, and it was nice to have this community viewing at the Wallace Center, which is a beautiful little cinema. So more on that at some other time. We also received, and they're actually both here tonight. Are they both here? We have received the notification of our scholar athletes this year, and I know I see Riley Robinson is our scholar athlete for this year. And Jenna Staccato. Oh, okay, I was looking for you. You're hiding back there. And because of part of what we do on Honors Night, the students introduce themselves, tell where they're going, what their major is going to be, and then because the Rotary is a service organization and part of their experience is community service, they share a highlight of their community service. So what I did learn from you, Jenna, is you plan to be an English teacher, so we hope to see you come back. It's a passion of mine. That was my start of my career, was English teacher. So Jenna Staccato and Riley are the scholar athletes for FDR for this year. So congratulations. There'll be a wonderful breakfast at the Poughkeepsie Grand in a couple of weeks. So And last but not least, Colleen Bucci, science teacher at the high school, had her students participate in real authentic research. And the research that they conducted had to deal with aquatic ecosystems. And it was a collaboration of Roosevelt, Red Hook, and the Bard Biology Program. And I'll just read a little. Aquatic ecosystems serve as reservoirs for plants, animals, and microbial species, and that microbial communities are as critical to the well-being of the environment as macroscopic organisms. And basically, the concept to have high schools and colleges involved in this is that they expand the number of participants in the research. It's called citizen science outreach, and it's a type of crowdsourcing so that you can exponentially grow your science sample by having students in high schools and colleges engaged in data collection. Their research project was published. Can you raise your hand if you were involved in this? Anybody involved in this in Ms. Bucci's class since you're here? Okay. The end product of their research was published in the Journal of Microbiology and Biology Education. So congratulations to the students, congratulations to a teacher who actually involved students in hands-on research and then took it to the level where their work was actually published. So we're very proud of that. And I don't know if any other board members have anything.
Just one. Since the last board meeting, we had 60 fourth graders, some from each of our elementary schools, be given the opportunity to meet and spend the morning with the director of the National Park Service. He was here for most of a day, just a couple of weeks ago, and we only had the opportunity to send 60 of our students. So the elementary principals and some of us talked about how to go about that and decided to have the students write essays. They needed to write a persuasive essay on why they would like to meet this gentleman, what they knew and wanted to know about their national parks, and what questions they might have for him. So 60 students spent the morning with him at the Eleanor Roosevelt site 2 weeks ago today. And then I had the opportunity to meet with him and have lunch with members of the FDR site, the Park Service employees, the Northeast director of the Park Service, and just a lot of good conversation about our collaboration with them. There are some wonderful pictures of him with our kids that I've forwarded to Greer, and we'll get those up on the website.
I think they're up.
But it was a wonderful morning for 60 of our fourth graders.
Thank you. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Great.
Okay, anything else? Well, that moves on to the valedictorian salutatorian.
Okay, and if Mr. Purdy would join us up here. Doug, you
Yeah,
can.
I'm gonna go.
Okay, we've asked our high school principal, Mr. Purdy, to join us. Thank you. At the Hyde Park Central School District, it gives us incredible pleasure to publicly announce, recognize, and congratulate our valedictorian, Dalton Slagle. And Dalton, stay right where you are. It also gives us great pleasure and pride to announce publicly and congratulate and celebrate our salutatorian, Nicholas Fantini. And now, as is the tradition for our school district, we also recognize the top 20. And I know all of the students aren't here. You can line up over there. Not all top 20 could come. There's a French play tomorrow. There was a softball game tonight, a baseball game tonight. Mr. Duffy and I were out on the field before this, and several other athletic events, and well, I know of the French play, but we know at this time of the year the students are extraordinarily busy. And what we will say is we'll call your name, and then you do not have to stay for the remainder of the board meeting. And again, I know you were all out last night too, so. So we'll go down in order, and if you're here, please come up. Jenna Sakato, we know you're here, Jenna. This is practice for graduation, by the way. Natalia Robolo. It's so hard not to say something about every one of them because they're all extraordinary and they all do such incredible things, but we can't go all night long. So, Riley Robinson. Alexandros Pasikas. As president of the National Honor Society, Alex gave the welcome address last night. The welcome last night. Yeah. Varinder Singh. And decked out is Connor Walsh. Emma Reining. Caroline Najwat. Diala Haddad. Kira Jure. Ryan C. And I didn't see her. Katie Johannes. I didn't see Tess either. Tess Manning. Zach Schiffer. Atia Soroya. I didn't see Atia. She was there last night. Nicole Leroy. Megan Jones. And Gina Coluccio. Cassidy Janso. Okay, I know it's a repeat for all of you again tonight, but it gives us great pleasure to honor and recognize you. And when we read and hear and learn about all your accomplishments, we have incredibly great hope for the future. You are doing amazing things already here, and we certainly know that we can only expect even greater and bigger things. So best of luck. Enjoy the next few months, not too much. And I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of you at all the other award ceremonies. So congratulations to our top 20, our salutatorian and our valedictorian. Yeah, and you can go home now. At some point in your career, you'll be assigned to come watch a board meeting, but not tonight. Congratulations.
to more normal now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. It's always good to see successful young people. And so we move on to, you got anything for superintendent's report?
Yeah, a couple. I'd like to talk a little bit about Give Back Days, and first I want to reiterate that we will be in school for the same number of days that we stated at the beginning of the year. The whole process of selecting emergency days and give back days is a system of balancing that the days that we set out to be, the number of days that we set out to be in school, we will be in school each year pending some real extraordinary emergency. With that said, our sincere apologies for any confusion. We have not been in this position in a very long time, where we had, at one point, we had all 5 give back days. We're down to 4. And what we realized is that the wording in the published documents is very confusing. It can be read in one of 2 ways, which means you were at one end of the extreme or the other. So to clarify, as of this moment in time, we have students will be in school on May 31st. The days that school will be closed for Give Back Days are May 26th, May 20th, and May 27th. I'm going to read them again in the other order. Okay, the days we will be in school will also be, we will be closed, will be May 27th, May 20th, sorry. May 27th, May 20th,
Right.
April 26th, and April 25th.
Right.
So depending on which way you read the Give Back Days, there might have been an interpretation. I also want to clarify that we received 1 email from a teacher and 1 email from a parent. So while we heard there was a lot of confusion via the grapevine, and we know there were a lot of internal conversations, that's for sure. The minute we heard the conversations occurred, we posted that school will be in session on May 31st, and if you were reading it from the order of the earliest date to the latest date, that was backwards. Typically, what we've done every year, even though the wording is confusing, it's not unheard of that you have an April storm or a late March storm. So when we arrange the Give Back Days, if there's any that we're going to have students return, we have them return at the latest date. So right now, that's why school will be in session on May 31st, because if we have that freak April storm, which we did this year, that we start from the furthest away. So the lesson learned here is that we need to find a clear and concise and unconfusing way to word it in the calendar. But again, nobody should ever plan on doing anything on any of those days until all the days are passed, because they are called emergency days. So whether it's a windstorm that knocks out all the power or a snowstorm that shuts us down, those days are built in for emergency purposes of any kind. So up until, we're out of them, everybody knows that up until the day before, it could change if we have to close the school for any emergencies. But again, I think the real message here is we apologize for any confusion, and it will be much clearer next year. And for all our facilities guys who have to shovel snow, I think they were happy to not have a year where we had very little snow. I wanted to just make an announcement about the community open house on April 28th. We've posted it widely. It went to the Historical Society. It was mailed out recently to the town board, the town planning board. It's going to the Chamber of Commerce, every club that we can find. But it's a community open house, and we're having it at FDR. We will talk about the state of our current building projects, our 5-year building condition survey, our budget, and we'll talk also about our new academic coherence planning process. So a night for the community to just get caught up and
The time?
I have it right here.
6:30 to 8:30, is it still?
Yeah.
Oh,
6:30 to 8:30 at FDR.
In case anybody looks, the calendar was changed this morning by somebody who when you make a calendar change, it puts the time, the current time in. So the calendar says it's from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m.
Wow, okay.
So that's why I wanted to make sure you set the time.
Oh, yeah,
It was-
6:30 to 8:30. All the flyers that are going out. Thank you, Doug. We didn't see that. And last but not least, on superintendent's report, the Relay for Life is May 1st. We had a lot of students that were here that are involved in the relay, and this will be the second FDR Relay for Life. And last year, even though at the end of the relay we were announcing one figure, when all of the finances came in, because there's a lot of residual donations, they raised $21,000. It is a student-run relay. We already know that there's 17 teams. One of the things we do with the students a lot, because we know there's so many fundraisers, and we don't want students to have to, ask people for large donations, but if you fill a water bottle with dimes, it's $100. So it's a very accessible way for students to fundraise. The relay protocol is for everybody to try and raise $100, so I have my Relay for Life dime bottle. But that is a community event. It's open to all in the community, anybody in the community, but it is run by the FDR students. And new this year, it is also, by request, the district-wide arts festival is the same day. So there's a lot of student excitement around the art festival and the relay. Things like the art students are happy that they'll get more traffic. They're happy that, they can come in and do their face painting and then go back in and man their show. I know that the First Ladies are going to be singing. So just lots of student events, a great family event. You can come. You don't have to sign up ahead of time. It's great if you join a team and form a team, but if you don't, you can still come. There are games throughout the day. It's from 1 o'clock, because it is a Sunday. We're doing it from 1 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And again, that's a fundraiser for cancer put on by the FDR Internet Club. So, but not just them, because already so many students in the high school have signed up for teams. So. Oh.
Came in an email.
Where, what was the date for the fundraiser?
May 1st.
Thank you.
I will be in New Jersey. It's my daughter's birthday.
May 1st.
Okay. Are you ready on the little ticket booth?
Yeah, the Little Red Ticket Booth. So, I don't know, a couple of months ago, I had heard about, hey, what do you think if the kids build a ticket booth? And the teacher was interested, and like all student projects, you hear about them, and then you don't hear about them for a while. And so the ticket booth, we have a structure that was built by Doug Edgerton's class. It is designed to replicate the Little Red Schoolhouse that is on the North Park campus. The students in the Architectural Residential Structures class designed and built the ticket booth, and they utilized the reclaimed wood from the old bleachers to build the structure. I know that a photo was taken on November 6th. It is not yet finished, and it has not yet been used. And one of the things that we definitely need to look into is, it's not an attached structure. So are there, is it covered under our insurance? And we just want to make sure that, we check all that out. But I know that there were questions floating around, and there was some thought that all of a sudden it just appeared. And I will say that that is how it happens with student projects, that some of them happen, some of them don't happen. But they put this together in a short period of time and brought it out and took a photo. But it's what I've been told is, as of today, it's not yet finished and hasn't been used. And we will look into if there's anything we need to do to ensure it. It is not a permanent structure, so it won't be secured. But it is there. And if anybody's wondering how it got there, it was a student class that reclaimed the materials and designed the structure. And so it was an internal project at the high school. I don't know if there's any questions.
That brings us to the final budget presentation.
And as Linda is getting ready, this is the final budget presentation. This is the night of adoption. At this point, the budget officially, if you adopt this budget, officially becomes the board's budget. So this is the night we turn over the budget to the Board of Education.
Yes, finally. Okay, so like Greer said, this is the proposed budget presentation. This is the budget that we're hoping the board will adopt tonight. When we build the budget, the district's mission statement is a very important consideration. We use that to help guide our decisions. We strive to build a budget that preserves our programs and services to the students. We want to improve efficiencies. We want to maintain financial sustainability, and all the while we're also mindful of the impact we have on the taxpayers. Since the last presentation on March 31st, we've had only one change. However, that is significant. We're receiving more state aid than the governor proposed. We have an additional $812,119. So our state aid budget is increased by that amount, and we're using that to decrease the amount of the fund balance to appropriate. That is the only change since the last budget presentation. Does anybody have any questions about that before we move on?
Okay.
Okay, on the May 17th ballot, we have 3 propositions. The first one is the general operating budget of $90,437,654. The second proposition is for the school bus purchases. The total is $1,005,219. And Proposition 3 is for establishment and funding of a capital reserve of $2 million. We have more detail on each of these 3 propositions throughout the budget presentation. This slide is a summary of the general operating budget. The proposed budget of $90,437,654 is a 2.15% increase over the current year. The tax levy is a $129,442 increase. As I've stated before, that's the lowest dollar increase in the tax levy in 40 years. The percent increase of 0.22% may be the lowest ever, but I only have records that go back 40 years, so I don't know. And that's less than 0.25%. So we are funding our budget, our 2.15% budget increase, with only a 0.22% increase in the taxes. It's also important to note that we are tax cap compliant. The tax levy of $57,948,712 is the allowable tax levy increase, or the tax levy. This slide just shows more detail of the budget to budget comparison. We have been through this before. The significant items are the transfers to capital projects. The $1.2 million increase is comprised of the $100,000 cash capital project for the bathrooms at FDR and the $1.1 million heating controls project. And there is another slide that has more detail on the transfer to capital projects later on. And as you can see, the taxes, the increase is 0.22%. Like I said, that is the tax levy, the allowable tax levy increase. This slide just shows, it's actually a visual representation of the information we just reviewed. You can see here that the most significant revenues in our budget are taxes and state aid. Our taxes are 64.08% of the total budget, and the state aid is 31.48% of the total. For expenditures, the most significant items are salaries and employee benefits. Together, they comprise over 77% of the budget. Here we have our tax cap calculation. We've reviewed this before too, but it is important. It is important to mention again that we are at the allowable tax levy of $57,948,712. The property tax or the property tax freeze credits that were tied to the government efficiency plans are over. They only lasted for 2 years, but there is a new property tax relief credit starting in 2016 that's related to STAR. So any taxpayer that qualifies or receives the STAR exemption and also earns less than $275,000 will receive $130 in 2016 because the district is tax cap compliant. This property tax relief credit is actually extended through 2019, but in years 2017, 18, and 19, the rebate will actually equal the STAR tax savings for that taxpayer multiplied by a certain percentage. Those percentages are listed here. I won't go through it now because this doesn't pertain to the 16-17 school year, but it is here for anyone to review. And also for these years coming up, 2017, 18, and 19, the district must be tax cap compliant for our taxpayers to qualify for this credit. The budget is comprised of 3 components. It's the program, administrative, and capital. After the board adopts the budget, we release a public budget document, and that has the detail of each of these 3 components. But our program budget is 76.74% of the total budget. The administrative portion is 9.37%, and the capital is 13.89% of the total budget. This is the slide that I was talking about earlier that shows the detail of the transfers to capital projects. There's actually 3 items in this budget line. The first one is $230,950. That's to close an old project with a negative balance. In fact, it's actually to correct a mistake that was made in 2009. I've been trying to correct it since I've been here, and hopefully we'll get everything straightened out this year so we can. In 2009, $230,950 was transferred out of the capital projects by mistake. It shouldn't have been, but we need to transfer it back. The $100,000 is the FDR lobby bathroom renovations. This is the project for which we can receive the full amount of aid the year after we spend it. So if we spend the full $100,000 on that project, we'll receive about $58,000 in aid in 2017-18. And the $1.1 million project is the project for the heating control system at the high school and the 4 elementary schools. It's to change the controls from pneumatic to digital. Does anybody have questions about this before we move on?
The $1.1 million for this
Yes.
project, is that in an approved borrowing plan from the past, or where is that money coming from?
That's coming from fund balance. That's why we had increased the amount of fund balance to appropriate. This is the project that originally we had in equipment, but our financial advisor recommended that we move it to capital projects so we could receive the aid. This is on Proposition 2. This is a separate lever pull on the ballot for the school bus purchases. We're requesting the purchase of 9 buses at a cost of $111,691 each. After the aid, the net cost to the district would be $453,354. Our third proposition is the establishment and funding of a capital reserve for $2 million. The term is 10 years, and the purpose is to be used for capital projects that are identified in our building condition survey. It's including but not limited to the district-wide roof project. And this funding source is also from current year fund balance. It's important to note that this won't increase the tax levy or next year's budget. The voters must approve it, however, that's why it's on the ballot.
Linda, I think you should point out also that the voters have to approve the spending of it
Yes.
also.
When it comes time to spend the funds, the voters will have to approve that. Because the term is 10 years, we must have a vote on a capital project within that time. And in the authorization, we will identify part of the funds as coming from the capital reserve.
Thank you.
Sure.
Quick question. So it's a 10-year term, and I've got to believe that we'll have spent it within 10 years, or we'll have a project that will meet it. What happens if it's not, we don't have an approved project within 10 years? Does it just revert back to fund balance?
That's a question that Garrett asked before. Yes. If we don't.
Good question, Garrett.
Thank you. I was thinking the same thing. Wow, what a fantastic question.
We actually have to have.
What you didn't hear was tuition.
We actually have to have approval of the capital project within 10 years. It doesn't have to be spent in that time. I did ask the same question, and I got 2 different responses. I was told by our financial advisor that the money would go back to the general fund. But when I talked to facilities planning at the state education department, they just said that we had to have an approved project within 10 years.
I think I'll go with our
Yes.
financial
Yes.
advisor.
A plan that answers all the questions is better than one that doesn't have an answer.
Okay, so finally, if the budget is not approved, the district will have 3 choices. We can either resubmit the same budget for a vote on June 21st, or we can revise the budget and submit that revised budget for a vote on June 21st, or the board could adopt a contingent budget. If we adopt the contingency budget, we cannot raise the tax levy. We would have a 0% increase. And we'd also have to remove all non-contingent items from the budget. That would result in a reduction of the proposed budget of $2,286,482.
Could you emphasize the fact that it will only reduce the tax levy by that 0.22%, which is like $129,000?
Yes, we would decrease our tax levy by $129,442, 0.
Yeah, and we should also point out that, so you're talking about $129,000, and to hold a second vote is somewhere around $30,000, so.
Yeah, this slide lists some of the budget restrictions under contingent budget. As we just stated, we can't increase the tax levy over the current year levy amount. So the tax levy increase would be 0%. The district would have to adhere to a contingent budget administrative cap, and then all non-contingent items must be removed from a contingency budget. Those items include community use of school buildings, student supplies, equipment purchases, non-essential maintenance, capital expenditures unless there's an emergency, and salary increases for non-instructional, non-unionized staff. We have 19 staff members that are considered managerial confidential, and they would not be able to get a raise under the contingent budget. And this is the last slide. It just shows the contingent budget calculation. All of the non-contingent expenses are subtracted from the proposed budget to arrive at the 2016-17 contingent budget of $88,151,172. That would be a decrease from the current year budget of 0.43%, and the tax levy increase would be 0%. That was the last slide for the presentation. I'd be happy to
Okay.
answer any questions if the board has any.
Any questions? Thank you, Linda.
Sure. Oh,
Good
Are you
job.
having fun?
I'm having a great time.
Okay, that's it.
Thank
Oh.
you. Oh, I think it is important to point out that the budget hearing is on May 10th. That's our,
Tuesday.
it's a Tuesday,
Yeah.
yes.
It's a Tuesday, yes, and it's always nice to have a clear explanation of the figures.
Thank you.
We haven't always had that.
Oh, come on, Doug.
Just saying. Okay. At this time, may I have a motion to enter public participation?
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? We are now in public participation. If anybody would like to address the board, please step up to the mic and tell us what you're thinking. Okay. I have a motion to exit public participation, please.
So moved?
Second?
Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Does anybody want to respond?
It's all yours.
I'm responding.
Oh, okay.
Didn't you? The silence. Okay. Do we have an update for the district leadership team?
Only in that, tied into the coherence planning was the decision to show the movie Most Likely to Succeed. And we have a number of people with us that were on the district leadership team that did attend that night. So with that said, our next district leadership team is April 19th at 6:30, right here. So that will be the last time that the district leadership team meets before we share with the board what we've been doing all year. So there will be a presentation, I think at the April 20, I have to check where Jonathan said he was going to come. But anyway, the next time the district leadership team, May 10th, the next time the district leadership.
It won't be the 26th, because that's the BOCES vote.
Oh, right. Yeah, so, so we meet on the 19th, and the public presentation is May 10th.
So kind of a question on the new strategic plan that is not what the DLT is working on, right?
Yeah.
Right. Or it is what's working?
Yes.
So we're going to present it to the community without the board looking at it first?
Well, the board appointed 3 board members to be on that, or we decided to have 3 board members on that district leadership team. So the district leadership team is going to review the strategic plan presentation at our meeting on the 19th. And then the plan was to present it on the 10th unless...
I'm just saying, if we're going to present it to the community before the board, that's how, that was my question.
Oh, no.
No. So that was my question, the strategic plan.
Oh, just, I see. Oh, you scared me there for a minute, Jeff. No, just basically that we're going through the process and the basic premise behind it, but not the plan itself.
Okay.
I just thought that if we're talking about the building condition survey and the budget, it was an opportunity, if there are anybody who shows up at that meeting that doesn't understand we're in the middle of that process.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. May I have a motion for the consent agenda, please?
So moved?
Second?
Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. That brings us down to, I have a motion for special education placements, please.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion?
I reviewed the packet as presented, and I recommend its adoption.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Here's the biggie. May I have a motion for, for the proposed 2016-2017 budget, please, as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
Good job.
Yeah, I think so too. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. May I also have a motion for the contingency budget?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. May I also have a motion for the school property tax report card?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
Yeah, I just want to point out that that is also available to the public, and I believe we make it available in the schools.
Yeah, and it's also it becomes part of the public budget document too.
All right. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. I have a motion for 11.5 consultant agreement for security at home football games.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
Why?
It's just, it should be just home games, yeah.
Home games, yeah.
So this is just one officer, right?
Yes.
Or is it, yeah.
Yeah, the original list appeared a couple of months ago, and somehow this one agreement was not
Okay.
in the packet. So when
Okay.
he went to submit a claim to get paid, he
No.
had never been approved by the
Okay.
board, so we're
Okay. Yeah.
Right, rather underhanded, isn't it? Can I have a motion for 11.6 creation
Well,
of
wait,
position?
we have to
Oh,
get the vote on
all in
that.
favor? Sorry. God, I almost made it through it. I was so close.
I'd never be able to
And-
follow all those rules.
The
Okay.
record is intact.
Now we're going to do 11.6, creation of position. These are teacher aide positions.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Well, here we are. I have a motion to enter public participation again.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Once again, anybody would like to address the board? You know, may go up to the mic? Okay. I have a motion to exit public participation, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Oh. Other than reminding, as far as other matters, the board packets are due this coming Monday.
5 p.m.
5 p.m. And you can still get them tomorrow or even on Monday if you're really fast about getting signatures.
37 of them.
37, correct. Okay. That brings us to board subcommittee reports. Do we have any reports? We haven't
There was
had-
a meeting, well, I don't know if it's officially a meeting, but there was a presentation by Regent Judith Johnson.
Oh, right,
at
over at
Arlington Library.
Arlington.
I would say well attended. She had some script that she wrote and read, but quite frankly, when she spoke more candidly and responded to questions, they fielded questions from the group. She covered a lot of topics. I mean, it was good to see, and you recognize it's a real person that works toward making some of those decisions.
Oh. Probably wasn't even offended if they asked you a tough question. Huh?
No, I mean, she, and I would say she answered the question. I mean, she answered, every question that was posed.
Good.
She's a career superintendent. I think she's used to the
Yeah, there's
questions.
nothing, yeah.
The abuse? No, no.
I don't think there were any other committee meetings. So moving on. Upcoming meetings. Well, before the meetings, again, Monday, April 18th, 5 o'clock is the deadline for exceptions of petitions for school board candidates. Tuesday, April 26th, again, Tuesday, April 26th, 7 p.m. is the next Board of Education meeting here at the administration office. And on Thursday, April 28th, from 6:30 to 8:30 at the high school, is the community open house. And that will be in the FDR auditorium. There is no need for an executive session. Oh, may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much. The meeting is now adjourned.